The MPX versus the FM9. Today on Max Headspace 9mm. So before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about both of these firearms. They represent a 9mm subgun. And, you know, for personal protection, it's a lot better than a pistol. You've got a pistol grip, and you'll notice since the last time you watched me use this gun, this mag pull grip is more vertical. The other one was more swept back. And the reason why that matters is if you're going to have your brace or your stock or whatever it is you got back here, as close in as possible, you want this to be a fairly vertical type of angle. Otherwise, you're craning your wrist quite a bit trying to reach that, you know, that grip. And, you know, that gets uncomfortable after a while. A couple other things. I moved my primary arms Prism Scope onto here. That's really ideal for this. It's not magnified. So, you know, it's all for close quarters, but it's super sharp, helps me see better, and very quick target acquisition. I also put an SB Tactical SBA3 brace. And I gotta say, this is my first encounter with this thing, and I love it. Yeah, I've been using blade braces forever, ever since they first came out. In fact, I got one of the very, very first ones that they were giving away as promotionals at a gun show, and I've been using them ever since. I love them. But this one might just change my tactic because now we have adjustability. This is a 4-position brace, and it pretty much, in my opinion, eliminates the need for SBR. I really can't see any reason why anybody would SBR a gun anymore. If you guys can, tell me in the comment section, because I'd really like to know. But I just don't see any reason to pay that money, wait that wait, and then have to deal with sending off paperwork if you want to cross state lines. So this thing is comfortable. It does everything you want to do. So, you know, that's what you can do with this. This is about as far as you can go. I also have a Sling Mount on here, and you know, it is what it is. It's not going to get any shorter with this because it has a working buffer inside of here. And so, you know, if you want to try the SB Tactical brace, I would recommend it because it's really been great, very comfortable, and I'll show you some things it'll do. Now, over here, we have the competitor. Now, the question is, why would anybody pay 3 times as much for this as they would for that? What advantages do you get? We're going to find that out today. I'm going to do some drills. I'm going to do some different kinds of shooting with both of these and see which one shines. One of the problems, the magazines are almost 3 times the cost too. You pay about 70 bucks for one of these things. They're really well made. They hold about the same as the Glock mag. But again, when you're talking SIG, you're talking expensive. Now, a couple of the advantages I'm going to tell you about right out the gate is, you remember in the last video, I couldn't run my Glock mag in this. And I don't blame the gun because those Glock drums don't always work in anything but Glock. In fact, they rarely work in anything but Glock. So, Glock stick mags is all I've been able to run reliably in these, and they are 100% reliable. So far, I've not had one issue. I've got about 1,000 rounds through this and over 2,000 through this. Now, one thing I will say, the SIG has over the FM9 is you can get a nice little drum, nice little mini drum. This is really pretty compact and very reasonably priced. It costs less than a lot of these X Products drums, and in my mind, it's very well crafted. It's a little tough to load, I will tell you that, because this wheel is hard to operate one-handed. So you have to find some way of bracing this so you can turn the wheel and then put the bullets in with your other hand. But when this is in place, it actually is more compact than the stick mags. So there's some advantages to it. It's a little heavy, but you know, empty, it's pretty light. So really it's just a matter of how much ammo it holds. Also, you can get different size barrels so that you can suppress this and it keeps it small. When I put this little 4-inch barrel in here, it will come to right about here. And it's got a piston and everything. It's self-contained, does everything the longer barrel will do. And this is made by In Lead We Trust. And it's not a SIG product because SIG products were not available to me when I called them. And they have a weird proprietary thread on their barrels. I don't like that. I want a 1/2 inch by 28 so I can use my suppressor without some weird adapter that they don't even sell. So SIG, get your act together. Get yourself some really nice normal threads on these barrels so that we can actually use them with our stuff. So when you put a suppressor on here, you know, if I were to get an adapter and use the SIG barrel, it would make this a full size, you know, almost a carbine length gun. But with the little barrel, it takes quite a bit of the length off, and it looks really cool because this goes down inside of the forend. And they make, SIG actually makes shorter forends for this too that'll cut a few more inches. Now, one of the advantages of this, I'll tell you right up front, foldable brace. Foldable. So when you think about how small this is, it takes quite a bit of the size off of the overall package. This can be put inside of a backpack quite easily and taken anywhere. So it's very stowable. It's more compact than the FM9. That is one advantage to this. It's a piston type gun instead of a blowback. It does not need a buffer. And you know, that's maybe really valuable to somebody, but to a lot of people that probably doesn't make that much difference. They do make a really cool buttstock for this if you want to SBR it. It's the one that was designed for this gun, and it utilizes these grooves here for some rails that telescope in and out. Now, if you want to do that, that makes sense. I totally get it. But they make a pistol arm brace version that looks exactly the same and basically works the same. And the reason, you know, I was kind of excited about that at first, but the reason I didn't go for it is because it increases the overall length about 2 inches more, 2.5 inches more than this folded, which makes it not fit into a backpack. And not only that, but those rails really aren't very comfortable on your cheek. They get tiresome pretty fast. So I think I'm going to enjoy this for now. I'm just going to keep it like this. And let's see what we can do with these today. Okay, guys, I came up with a test that I think is going to be a pretty good way of testing this out. We're going to find out about how recoil affects the accuracy of these guns. So on the right, I've got the FM9. On the left, I've got the MPX targets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to shoot as close to 5 rounds as possible. I just want to be about the same out of both weapons, as fast as I can. And let's see not only how fast I can get these guns to shoot, but how close the grouping will be. All right, I'm about 10 yards away from this target. That's a pretty good close quarters combat distance. Let's start out with the FM9. Same test, same distance with the SIG. Okay, here is, it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots out of the FM9. The maximum shot spread is right around 8 inches. I don't know, it kind of goes 8 inches by 5.5 inches. And wasn't that bad, actually. The Prism Scope is zeroed for that gun. I've never tried to zero it on the SIG, so I'm not really sure what's going on. It looks like it shot low. Now, when I started shooting, I was aiming straight at the center. So it could very well be that it is a different point of aim that I need. But anyway, we got a pretty decent group right here, 4. And it's actually not bad, similar to the FM9. But then we've got these 2 flyers out here. Somehow, during the shooting, I wound up trailing off. And that's a 9-inch spread. So the MPX wasn't any better as far as managing recoil for me. I'm not really sure why that is. So I don't know if it's that the test isn't very good or the tester isn't very good. But I'm a pretty big guy, and I don't think the recoil of a 9mm is as important for me as it would be for a lighter weight shooter. So I think that's a big factor. I do think a person who is smaller and lighter than my 220 pounds would definitely appreciate the lighter recoil of the MPX. Supposedly one of the biggest differences between the FM9 and the SIG MPX is recoil. This is blowback and the SIG is a piston system. Let's see if we can notice a difference. Okay guys, if you'll remember when I did my Foxtrot Mic 9 review a little over a month ago, I did a 100-yard accuracy test with it. And what I've got is my metal silhouette target all the way down there. And what I want to do is see if I can actually do better. I think, if I remember correctly, I did 8 shots total and I hit twice. I'll have to go back and look at the footage again, not sure, but I think it was something like that. So, same distance, 100 yards. We're going to start out with the SIG because that's what the primary arm scope is on. Now, this is a better piece of equipment than my sight mark that I was using in that review. So that's going to help me out. Plus, I've got this. See, I didn't have anything to rest against my torsional region when I did that review. I had 3 points of contact. This gives me a 4th point of contact, so let's see if it helps my odds. All right, that's more than 2, so I think I did better. Let's try the FM9. All right, I put my primary arms Prism Scope on here, 1x. And now we have a nice SB3 brace on here. And let's see if I can do better than I did before. Whoops. Well, I'll tell you what, this surprises me. I must like recoil because I'm shooting better with this than I am with the SIG. Now, granted, I'm positive that this scope needs to be sighted in better on that SIG. They're not hitting at the same place, so I had to compensate a little bit with it, and that could have had something to do with it. But I do like this gun. It's very accurate, very easy to shoot. Yes, it has a little bit of punch to it, but it doesn't bother me. It might bother somebody who is a little bit smaller or lighter than me.
I spent an entire day with these 2 firearms. I ran them through every possible drill I could come up with. And what I was left with at the end of the day, besides being really tired, was that these are 2 fantastic personal protection firearms. One was a little better for me on that particular day, and that was the FM9. To be fair to the SIG, I think that I was trying to use the same optic on both firearms for the purpose of equality. I didn't want an optic to give one of them an unfair advantage. So what I did was I kept switching back my Prism sight from one to the other, and I really think that it was sighted in better on the FM9 than it was the SIG. That having been said, I feel like I was still shooting better with the FM9 than I was the SIG, even though it has greater recoil. Partly because it's a much simpler gun. The controls are simpler, it's more minimalistic, there's less to keep track of. There's also less to go wrong. They're both built equally well, likely to last just as long as each other. They never once failed to perform or function in any way, and I was very impressed with the performance out of both. But at the end of the day, my recommendation for most people would be the FM9. There is a tremendous point of diminishing returns with the SIG. It does allow you to go further than the FM9 with a variety of different barrel lengths, different stocks. It is completely ambidextrous. It's a little easier to suppress, but the FM9 is getting better all the time, and Foxtrot Mike is putting out these products very, very rapidly. Every few months, they'll come up with a new barrel length or a new shroud or some new device that goes on this gun. And I think Foxtrot Mike is a much easier company to work with, frankly. If you're going to customize it, the Foxtrot Mike is probably going to be cheaper down the long run. However, if you really want a drum, SIG is the only game in town, because I couldn't get my Glock drum to work on the Foxtrot Mike. So if you're an operator, if you're in some kind of a SWAT team or an entry team, security detail, police force, military contractor, and you have the money and you want the very best firearm you could possibly get because your life is very likely to be in real and present danger, the SIG is probably going to be the one you're going to go to. But for the vast majority of us who are just buying a personal protection firearm for that worst day of our lives that may never come, I think the FM9 is a much better choice. It's a lot less expensive. It's actually going to be easier for most people to customize the way they're going to really want it. It's simpler. And for people who are civilians and not practicing every single weekend, it's going to fit their lifestyle a lot better. So with all the extra money you save buying the Foxtrot Mike, you can buy ammo, which is why for most people like myself, the Foxtrot Mike is going to be a better gun. But the SIG is still awesome. I really enjoy it. It has a feel and a look all its own. I love the ergonomics. I love the placement of the controls. When I'm using it, I don't even have to think about what I'm doing. It just does everything for me. I can understand why people spend so much money on these, but the truth of the matter is, very few people can really justify this. Well, that's my 2 cents. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks a lot, and have a good one.